Hello, welcome to Feasting on the Word for this first week in September, September the 4th, 2024. Feasting on the Word is an ancient discipline of the church whereby rather than looking at the Bible as a whole and trying to figure out where we start and reading it and how to approach it, we take the smallest little passage of Scripture and we live with it. So we spend more time with it and so can begin to really value all that it said. So it's likened to feasting on the word in the sense of hearing that small piece of scripture once, like taking a bite, hearing it a second time, like kind of chewing on it a little bit, hearing it a third time, appreciating all the flavor it has, and hearing it a fourth time, incorporating it into our life. We update the practice a little bit by using 4 different translations of the same passage. We start with the New Revised Standard Version, then the Message, then the Contemporary English, and we conclude with the New International Version. A minute of silence follows the first reading, a minute following the second, 3 minutes of silence following the third reading, and then we conclude with the fourth reading. That longer period of silence is intended as an opportunity for us to turn to God in prayer. So that's taking our impressions of this passage and lifting them up to God. How the passage is inspiring us and encouraging us, or maybe how it's confusing us or challenging us. I find it helpful to have something to write with and something to write on nearby so I can write down my impressions as the passage is read through those first 3 times, and then I use that as the material for that conversation, that prayer with God. So without further delay, let's get into our discipline this week of Feasting on the Word. Our passage is just 3 short verses, so truly a very small passage coming to us from early in Paul's correspondence with the church in Colossus, that is from Colossians chapter 2. This is verses 20 through 23. If with Christ you died to the elemental principles of the world, why do you live as if you still belonged to the world? Why do you submit to regulations? Do not handle, do not taste, do not touch. All these regulations refer to things that perish with use. They are simply human commands and teachings. These have indeed an appearance of wisdom in promoting self-imposed piety, humility, and severe treatment of the body, but they are of no value in checking self-indulgence. Our second reading of Colossians chapter 2, verses 20 through 23 from the Message. So then, if with Christ you've put all that puffed up and childish religion behind you, why do you let yourselves be bullied by it? Don't touch this, don't taste that, don't go near this. Do you think things that are here today and gone tomorrow are worth that kind of attention? Such things sound impressive if said in a deep enough voice. They even give the illusion of being pious and humble and austere. But they're just another way of showing off, making yourselves look important. Our third reading of Colossians chapter 2, verses 20 through 23 from the Contemporary English Version with our longer period of silence to follow. You died with Christ. Now the forces of the universe don't have any power over you. Why do you live as if you had to obey such rules as, don't handle this, don't taste that, don't touch this? After these things are used, they're no longer good for anything. So why be bothered with the rules that humans have made up? Obeying these rules may seem to be the smart thing to do. They appear to make you love God more and to be very humble and to have control over your body. But they don't really have any power over our desires. Our fourth and final reading of Colossians chapter 2, verses 20 through 23 from the New International Version. Since you died with Christ to the elemental spiritual forces of this world, why, as though you still belong to the world, do you submit to its rules? Do not handle, do not taste, do not touch. These rules, which have to do with things that are all destined to perish with use, are based on merely human commands and teachings. Such regulations indeed have an appearance of wisdom with their self-imposed worship, their false humility, and their harsh treatment of the body, but they lack any value in restraining sensual indulgence. This is the inspired word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.